Welcome back to the Metal Lounge. On today's episode, we've got AZODi,
Hi.
a UK producer who went from playing Wembley Stadium car park with his pop rock band Mimi Sawyer to producing some of the biggest bands in the Asian pop scene. You came up from that early 2000s MySpace pop scene. I remember it. I was very young, to be fair. I wasn't too cool on MySpace or anything, but I remember those days pretty well. Let's go back to the beginning. What was it like starting the band in that time? What was the MySpace scene like for us?
Elder emos.
Yeah, elder emos.
It was great. I was a big fan of MySpace. I was on it a long time. I was a consumer before I was creating, but back then it wasn't even called social media, was it? It was just a website the kids were using back then. But basically, I came down to Brighton from Surrey in 2005, this month.
That is crazy.
It was a long time ago.
Full circle moment.
Yeah, it really is. Got onto the course at BIM, doing the commercial songwriting course. And then once that ended, I started the band Mimi Sawyer with a drummer who was like an old school friend up in, where we're from in Surrey. Yeah, it just kind of moved on from there and it just grew and grew. And it was crazy. It was a crazy time. It was much easier, I feel, than it is now to kind of break out as a band. You could just upload your music onto the MySpace player and then the industry would be checking it out and you could grow a fan base quite quickly. And it was just a bit more innocent, wasn't it, back then? Just a bit more naive and it just kind of worked a bit easier.
I didn't actually even know that, to be honest. I didn't realize that you didn't need a proper process of distributor and record label and everything. I didn't realize you could literally... Was it like SoundCloud, where you just upload your shit straight to there?
Yeah, pretty much.
So how did you record your stuff back then? Who was recording it?
Because we're in quite, a very artistic city like Brighton, there's a lot of people in bands back then, way more than there is now. The Brighton music scene back then was primarily metal, and then it was indie, and then we were kind of coming in as this pop punk, pop rock kind of band. And, Paramore were kind of on the way up, or I hadn't even heard of Paramore, but we were had a female singer, so we were getting compared to...
Was that kind of annoying?
Yeah, it was kind of annoying, yeah. Some of the members in the group like Paramore, I just genuinely just didn't know them, didn't know much about their music, but we ended up meeting a lot of people on the Brighton scene. We'd play with other bands and some of the members of the bands could produce and record demos. So yeah, we ended up playing with a band quite a lot called The Auteur, and their drummer called Jules. He was just an amazing engineer, producer, and he was the drummer. So he would just bring his whole desktop PC and we'd set it up in the bass player's living room or the singer's living room, and when we just have a weekend of recording demos and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
A portable studio that...
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And it was back then, it was peak Xbox 360, so we're just playing Skate 2 and
nice.
Just playing that. And that's kind of how we got the demos, and then we just uploaded it to MySpace. And you know how it was, it's very transactional in the way that you would add people and people would comment PC for PC, all this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, we gained a good amount of traction. We just went really hard for it.
How did you get recognized? How did it sort of get to that next level?
There was already a massive music scene in Brighton. That's part of the reason, we wanted to come down here. But on the flip side of that, it's very competitive. There's gigs going on every night. It's very hard to get there. And there was a massive jump up, I felt, in venue size, because you'd be playing the smaller venues, kind of pubs and, venues used to be called the engine rooms. And then it would just jump up.
Heard of that.
Yeah, yeah. And then it would just jump up to Concord, which would be much more of a substantial.
Much bigger.
We had the free butt was kind of in the middle. Yeah, we just said yes to everything. We just tried to do as much as we could, gigging wise. We couldn't wait to start touring. We ended up getting a big van, an old postal van, and just
awesome.
Driving around in that. It was fun.
Did you drive?
No, I didn't, but the bass player and the drummer did. So we just kind of were up and down the country quite a lot.
Passenger princess.
Yeah, exactly. Travel princess, right? Didn't have to do much, but everything else was organized. And we ended up getting a label quite early, and that label is still going today, and they are absolutely killing it. So we were one of the first signings to a label called Lab Records, LAB Records, and they're doing one of their bigger bands is called, is it Southern Arcade?
Oh, yeah, South Arcade. They played with Bill Murray recently. I saw them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're really good, actually.
Yeah, they're Lab Records bands, and it's same set as us. It's 3 guys and then a female singer. We got picked up quite early by Lab, and they were great, did a lot of support, kind of helped us with a lot of things. You end up meeting people who knew people who knew people, and we ended up meeting through a mutual friend, someone who worked at Atlantic Records, and they ended up supporting us quite early on.
That's amazing.
And that was all through MySpace. And then he sent one of a manager, quite a big manager, over to just check us out when we played Pavtav.
Pavtav, yeah, I remember Pavtav. It was probably like the cheapest bar in Brighton when I first moved to Brighton.
It was so cheap.
Yeah, and get pints for like £4 or something, like ridiculous.
This is really showing my age, but it was like £1.50, £2.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then, do you remember how like the toilets are always flooded, and you just constantly have to walk around the edge of the toilet?
Yeah, it's fucking gross.
Was grim,
so how did the Wembley Stadium thing come about?
That was through the management. So
Atlantic.
the company were called Crown Music Management. Yeah, it was part of that Nike Human Race event where Nike, they put, was it like a big race across all the major cities in the world? And the UK one was hosted at Wembley Stadium. What they'd done is they'd set up the course for the runners into the car park, and they would run into the stadium and then back out. And we were like one of the kind of bands that were playing in the car park to kind of like motivate the runners.
The runners, yeah.
And it was insane. So we played, and then the guys who were headlining at the end was Pendulum and Moby.
Oh, wow.
But what was really cool about it, man, was like they'd set up the course. So like people would run and they would turn at the stage. So you got a flood of about 20,000-30,000 people running towards you and cheering. And it's so weird, man, because the feeling was like incredible. I can't really describe it. It felt like flying. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it, but what was really funny is you get that feeling, then all the runners are gone and you're just playing to an empty car park for like another 5-10 minutes, and then they come back again, and then you get that like buzz again. But
that's so weird.
It was such an amazing experience.
A moving crowd that kind of moves in and out. That's a really unique setup, actually.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube, the video, and we had a lot of problems setting the stage up. For example, like it's one of those temporary stages. And I remember it rained really hard. We had all our equipment set up on this stage, and it was like a fabric roof, but it was full of water, and it had like sunk halfway onto the stage. So they had to like kind of poke all the water, not on the equipment, but off the other side of the stage. Yeah, so that was kind of worrying because there's thousands of pounds of equipment probably in there. Yeah, so it was a really cool experience, and it was really interesting, and eternally grateful for that.
Talk to me a bit about the production side of things. I know you got to work with Romesh Dodangoda. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He actually produced Bring Horizon as well, didn't he? Like, what was it like working with him?
He's done some amazing stuff, man. That was like our first experience with like a real major producer. His studio was in Cardiff. Really nice studio. Great guy to be around. Really chill, which was cool because some of our members were quite high energy, and he was a pretty like relaxed guy. Very inspirational, very inspiring. And knowing that, he'd worked with, I think we were before Bring Me. I think Bring Me was after that, but he'd already done like a lot of the big bands that were coming up in the scene. I think he did Bullet for My Valentine, did some Motorhead. I think he did Glassjaw.
That's probably why Bring Me went there, because I know they love Glassjaw.
And Kids in Glass Houses. We ended up going out with those guys on one of the nights, which was good fun. Yeah, I'd wish I'd known what I'd known now, and I could have gone into that environment and asked him questions about production.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you that into production at the time, and like
just
a songwriter?
Starting. But I just was trying to learn how to do demo production, because the whole reason I got into music production was to learn how to do demos for the band, and then it just kind of evolved and it kept moving from there. But I remember asking Romesh this, such a noob question, man. I was like... because he was using Cubase, I think, and at the time I asked him, hey man, so when you get a track, do you like cut it and delete it, or do you just like shorten the file? And he's like, I just shortened it, it's fine. I'm like, oh cool, man. It was just like such a of all the questions I could have asked, like one of these top producers, that was the question I asked him. Such a basic entry level thing, right?
Do you always think of him now when you shorten a file?
Yeah. This is how Romesh does it. This is how Romesh does it, guys. Like if people in the studio. Secret. Yeah, this is the inside secret. One thing that was funny is because I supported my career through working at Starbucks quite a lot, and Romesh caught wind of that, and every time he'd be like, oh, you work at Starbucks, go make the coffees. And I'm like, do this all the way. You want me to do it for you?
Instant instant coffee. Like, this is going to be a good one.
It's a real good Nescafe. Yeah, really good hot water this time.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about some more recent stuff. So obviously you got into the K-pop side of things and the production of that. I think a lot of people don't appreciate how like technical a lot of K-pop stuff is. There's stuff you were showing me earlier of like the soundscapes you make and all like the sound effects. It's so like meticulous. Yeah, just talk about how you got into that scene in general first, and then we'll go a bit deeper.
Yeah, off the bat, I've always been a bit weeby. Like I like my Japanese culture and pop culture. Yeah,
guilty.
Yeah, with the Akira poster on the wall. Yeah. And I was really, I grew up playing a lot of like Final Fantasy and video games coming from Japan, so I was always like inclined to be into that stuff. And what happened was Gangnam Style came out in 2012, and my pop producer friend over in Norway said that there was an influx of demand for Western writers in the Korean scene because it had that explosion. And my friend in Norway was like, hey, I'm too busy to do these leads. And by the way, a lead is something that a record label will send out, and it's just kind of like a guide and reference to songwriters and producers to write something for their new artists. So, they want this sound mixed with this sound, and then you create something. So he was getting leads like that from the labels in Korea. There's an influx, and he was like, I'm too busy doing my boy band. I know you're into J-pop. Do you want to try this K-pop thing out? Because I didn't even know what K-pop was, man. Like I just heard of Gangnam Style, and that's kind of how I got into it. And then I just kind of failed for years because I wasn't a good enough producer. I kept pitching, just ghosted constantly for years. And then it wasn't until 2018 I tried to do it again, and I was like, I wrote a song that I thought sounded like K-pop. I did one of those, crappy mobile phone recordings you record your DAW with, like Cubase at the time. I uploaded it to Facebook, and let's just say the right person saw it at the right time. I sent a few more songs to this guy who was starting a publishing company, and then I signed my first publishing deal a few months after that.
Wow.
And it's been like that ever since. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Awesome. Some people don't understand how big Gangnam Style was at that point, because wasn't it like the most viewed YouTube video ever?
Yeah, it was.
And it had like 3 billion, like I think
it was crazy.
Got more now.
It was huge because everything about that was like perfect for virality, wasn't it? And I knew it was really big because obviously back then the internet wasn't as well connected as it is today. Where I'm from, small town in Surrey, I remember going to like the local Weatherspoons and it was like Friday night, whatever, and everyone was battered, and Gangnam Style comes on, everyone knows it. And I'm like, if that's hitting the small town where I'm from, and everyone knew the dance, they're doing that, the long leg dance thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, so this is really big because what it's like in the UK, you rarely get any sort of music in another language being mainstream. Like
it's very rare.
It's like you'd get, like it used to be, you might get a Spanish song in the summer because holiday season, that's about it.
Despacito, I suppose, was a massive one. Do you think the K-pop scene sort of like almost owes like a big majority of its like virality and success due to Gangnam Style? Do you think it was that impactful, or do you reckon there's a lot more underlying that's
much
going
more
on?
Don't think anyone could predict that going so big. But when you actually see the way that everything's done, it's meticulous detail. And what Korea and the K-pop industry have done very well is every single step of the process is meticulously planned out. It's like a whole package. The music, the visual, the fashion, audio, style, social media, everything is everything. It's like one big solid unit, and then they put it out.
And how long does that process take?
Oh, years. Yeah, like some of the audition processes for the new idols or the rookies, they do the auditions when they're like, as young as 13, 12. I guess, I think before they debut, and that's if they debut, you're looking at, was it 5 years? 4 or 5 years?
I didn't realise it was that
intense. And you got Cat's Eye, right, that's come out on Netflix, and that's probably a bit of a sped up process because that's only 2 years. But that's probably a very good look into like how the process works.
What about K-pop Demon Hunters?
That's
been
huge.
Everywhere at the moment. Do you reckon that's been in the pipeline for a long time?
I believe so. But also I think, yet again, that was something that was just so culturally relevant, like such a massive impact on the world, wasn't it? It was so big.
I still haven't seen that either. I need to catch up.
It's good. It's really good. Yeah. Watched it twice. It's good. It's enjoyable. It's different, and then it's still like giving you a lot into the Korean folklore and like history, and it's just done in a really good way, in an interesting way. It's enjoyable, banging soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
So
being from a pop rock world, but still like you're aware of metal and stuff. What do you reckon people could learn from K-pop that are into metal, like production wise? Like, what are some similarities and what are some things that maybe metal's missing that K-pop is hitting?
I can say similarities, they're both quite intense genres. There's a lot of energy between them. With metal and with K-pop, people don't just like it, they love it. It's like real intense sort of passion for the genres. So that's what they do.
Fans.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's something they do have in common. What metal could learn from K-pop, there is a lot of emphasis on innovation and doing stuff that's fresh and hasn't been heard before. And I feel like with metal, there could definitely be some sort of like leaning more into innovation. Because we were talking about this earlier with metal, like how there's a lot more hybrid genre going on and there's a lot more experimentation because it's just easier to create and upload now. So I do think that there's a bit more of that going on, and I feel that like with K-pop, you could learn from that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that like alternative used to mean like you could think outside the box, and there was more kind of fresh ideas coming. I don't mean to sound like a bit of a boomer, but like in the MySpace era, it was definitely a bit of that. There was more fun. It was new metal, and there was but now a lot of bands take themselves seriously, and I feel like it's not just aiming this at metal, but I think in general with social media and stuff, people are afraid of like getting the piss taken out of them or like embarrassed to kind of show their true selves or doing a thing that's kind of too outside the box. And I think that's why metalcore and metal had become a bit stale, because it was like, oh, that's cool, so we'll do that. And it's like people are almost like afraid to step outside of that box sometimes.
Why do you think people are afraid?
Because they don't want to be judged. I think they're afraid of rejection. I think they're afraid of... But I feel like we are seeing more bands come up that are unique now. I feel like there's definitely a movement to be more innovative, but it could be even more expansive.
For sure, man. I think generally my like look, attitude at everything is just kind of, if everyone's doing this over here, you need to be doing something over here. And especially when you're doing like the real top pitching with the best writers in the world, it's like you really have to be doing something fresh and new, and that's it's the hardest thing about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I'm paraphrasing Tyler the Creator on the flip side of that, because he made this point, which was genius, but he was like, you know, sometimes when you're writing a song, you release a song, no matter what genre you're in, you're always putting this pressure on yourself to be like, oh, it's got to be the best thing ever, no one's ever heard of it, it's going to be amazing. And Tyler just said, but sometimes you just want to wear a white t-shirt. Like, it doesn't have to be amazing, it can just be a good song.
That's true.
You just want to wear a white t-shirt sometimes. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you just want vanilla ice cream.
Exactly. What's wrong with vanilla ice cream? Yeah, sometimes you want that when you've had all these mad ice cream flavors.
Exactly. It's good to go back to basics sometimes and have something a bit more familiar, and you know, so you don't always need to light the world on fire. So you've worked in a lot of different medias, haven't you? So you've done obviously music, TV, games, like all sorts of things. What connects you to those different formats? Do you have something that stays with you through each medium, or do you approach everyone slightly differently?
A bit of both. So definitely, have to have a different approach to all of them. I think over the years as well that I've done this, you reinvent yourself in different ways. So the thing that's the through line of everything is probably like just being able to write songs. That's the most basic form. And then similarities through all of them, I can tell you now that being able to portray emotion in music is relevant to all of that. If you can make someone feel something through all of those mediums, works really well. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think what happened was, did the band, if anyone's like, who's a producer here or composer, when you dive into music production, a whole world opens up to you, because you can acquire all like hundreds of thousands of different instruments, presets, samples, and you just have too much, right?
Yeah.
And it's a blessing and a curse, and we can get onto that later. But so I went into composition straight after, because I was like, there's all this cool stuff that we get to do and get to work with. But what I found over years was that to really truly get like great results in anything that you do, it's all about the focus. Like if you start trying to do everything all the time, you're only going to get mediocre results. So it's really important to have focus, especially now, everything's taking your attention all the time. So that's another thing that you could say across all of those fields, is just having the focus and sticking at it for longer than you think it's going to take. Generally with me, I always would think, whatever you think it's going to take, triple it.
Wow.
So if you think it's going to take 3 years, it might be more like 9 years. If you're lucky, 6 years. It's kind of 1 year, it's going to be 3 years, and so on, like it.
So you've spoken about having setbacks in your career and struggling with reaching that next level sometimes. Like how do you deal with that, and how do you maintain that focus now? Like what gets you through those tough times when sometimes it is taking longer than you think it's going to take and you're not getting those results? What helps you keep pushing yourself and reinventing yourself?
There's no easy answer really. You really have to go to a quite a low place and you realize something's not working for you anymore, and it used to work a few weeks ago, and they suck so bad, like when that happens, but you need it to happen in order to reinvent yourself, I guess. So what kept me going is whenever you get a setback or when stuff takes too long, you need to write it out for a certain point of time, and then you kind of have to use your own judgment to realize it's not working for you. And then you start dabbling into different areas, but you can't get that confused with shiny object syndrome where people give it 6 months and then give up. So yeah, again, it's your own judgment here. Like what I'm saying is work for me, but it's going to be different for everyone else, right? So you do have to kind of be quite in tune with how you're feeling and have the kind of balls to change, because that's hard in itself, right? If you've been comfortable in this thing before. So yeah, there's no straight answer, but I would say that it's just knowing, realizing, having the insight of knowing it's not working for you anymore, and then making the right changes.
I like that you're quite introspective with that answer, and it's a lot of reflection, because I think it's so difficult now with the amount of advice and opinions you get, and it's like what to listen to and when to trust yourself. But I think to read a manual, let's say. But what I found with times I've struggled personally, and what I've heard from other people is it all comes from yourself, and no matter what you have to go through, you have to rely, like you can get bits of advice and stuff, but it all does come from yourself and building yourself back up that makes sense in your head, because what makes sense for someone else doesn't necessarily make sense for you, and that's really difficult when you're not feeling your best. It's hard to trust yourself sometimes. It's
almost naive in a way that if you see it work for someone else, it's going to work for you because you're not them. So you know what I mean? So but then you're only going to know yourself what's working for you, and you can have a book to kind of guide you, but it's not going to give you the answer.
It's not a cheat code.
No,
as
exactly.
much as you'd like it to be.
Not even like your best mates, your parents, like they can't even really help you truly, because it's you, and that's so hard. It's really hard, but you get better at it.
Yeah, and I think just going through those difficult times, it sometimes makes it easier the next time you experience something like that. I think it's the hardest blows are always when I've never had anything like this and I don't know what to do, because you can always use past experience, but advice is important. But yeah, I think I like that you were very introspective in your answer. I relate to that for sure. Sonically, this may sound like a stupid question. Could you describe to me the difference sonically between J-pop and K-pop? And I'm sorry if that's an offensive question.
No, not at all. It's understandable. They're very different in some ways and similar in other ways. So some of the key points I would say to listen out for: J-pop, generally going to be much more rock focused, many more guitar and guitar based genres. And so everything I'm saying is a generalization. Okay, it's not all the time, but let's say a majority time. Japan's gonna be much more rock genre based, more guitars. Korea's much more on the R&B hip hop side of it. Japan generally is faster BPM. Generally it's a bit more of a faster speed tempo. Whereas Korea's a bit more kind of like groove, slower, more reserved in some ways. Not all the time, but majority. This is an interesting one. So Japan have a philosophy called Wabi-Sabi, and it's the art of imperfection. So what I mean by that is that in a lot of Japanese art, pottery, craft, music, everything, it's seen that there's more beauty in something being not quite finished and perfect. So if you relate this to music, I won't go too super technical, but instead of having a perfect cadence and resolving a melody, you use an imperfect cadence, like a 4-1 instead of a 5-1. But I don't want to go to that.
No, I love that. I love stuff like that. Or using like a bit crusher where it's like technically like distorting the sound to make it imperfect, but it sounds nice.
Sort of, yeah.
Or is it more in the actual?
Sorry, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, maybe yeah, but more of like a theory.
It's
based
not a
thing.
Tone thing. It's a structure.
Yeah.
Thing.
So like for example, it's like if you were to write a melody and the cadence never resolves, it never quite feels finished, so it creates a longing, bittersweet, hopeful feeling. So a good example of this is like a lot of Christmas songs use this technique, or Beach Boys. You know how it always feels kind of sad, but it's hopeful all the time?
Yeah.
Last Christmas, George Michael, good example. You know, a lot of the Frank Sinatra stuff, and you know, all the Christmas bangers are like that. So that's one thing that they use a lot in kind of Japanese composition and arrangement. Like Korea uses these techniques, but it's not in the same way. I guess you could also say Japan tend to use more chord progressions instead of a Western standard 4 chords. Japan's going to be doing more like a 6/8. A lot of jazz chord movements and stuff, but Korea's the same as well. So yeah, that's a few points I would say.
And on that note, so I think a good bridge between your two worlds is Babymetal.
Yeah.
What do you think about Babymetal?
I think they're great. I love them. I think they're really good. I remember when they first come out. Do you remember everyone's reaction when they first come out? Everyone's what is this?
A lot of the like old heads were like, "Fuck this! Like this isn't metal."
It's interesting because it reminds me of it's like polarizing opposites, right? Real heavy metal, super high, cute vocal. Just extreme opposites, and it creates an interesting feeling in people, doesn't it? It's kind of like when you do horror film scoring and stuff. You know how you have something absolutely horrific going on the screen, and it's the happiest music and you know that weird feeling. It makes people feel kind of uncomfortable. I feel it's kind of using that strategy in a different way.
I love the collabs they've been doing as well. Is that something that's quite common in K-pop and J-pop?
Yeah.
Like, do you get a lot of collabs?
Yeah,
because they seem very on it. Like they are constantly collabing. A really hard-working band.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they want to be getting more music into the West. So bringing over Western, you know, people, you know, artists with followings is perfect for that. But generally, I think Asia is big on collaboration anyway. Us as Westerners, we have the kind of individualist mindset, as I was saying earlier, where we think about the individual, the me and the I, whereas in Asia, it's much more group and collectivism. So that people are thinking much more about the group and how your actions affects everyone. But then that can come into collaboration and groups working together to create a better product. So generally, that I would say collaboration's always been quite popular.
So speaking of collaboration and so we spoke a lot over the years. You give me some really good advice on content, and you've got your head screwed on with marketing, and you've built quite an impressive following online. Like, what advice would you give to people in bands, let's say, and that are struggling with content and today's world where you always have to be content creators as well? Like, what advice could you give to any bands that are struggling to kind of make an impact?
Just start. That's the biggest thing. You don't want paralysis by over-analysis. You don't want to plan everything and then you never actually start. The thing that worked for me with my own content was to have a strategy of, write down 10 ideas that you think could potentially work. Don't spend a lot of time on them. Quickly fire them out, upload all of them, and then pay attention to the data and how people react. You probably think ideas 3 and 5 are going to work, and then the data suggests ideas 1 and 7 work. Axe everything else, put all your energy into ideas 1 and 7 until it stops working. But in the meantime, when you're putting 80% of your time into ideas 1 and 7, have that 20% of trying to find other ideas to replace them. That's how I did it.
That's top advice. I like that. Yeah, I like that you say it's quite often the things you don't expect as well. Always, like sometimes I'll spend hours editing one little short and I'm like, this is amazing, and then it flops, and then one I just literally just shat out. It gets like hundreds of thousands. It
kills you inside
of
it, though, doesn't
it? It does a little bit.
It kills you inside.
But I don't give up. I'm like, I'm just going to repost that at the appropriate time.
Some of my most popular videos on YouTube, it was just like, I don't care. Just fire it out, and then it flows up, and you're like, and then you spend like 2 weeks on a video, and you're like, no one cares, and you're like,
it's crazy. But yeah, no, thanks so much for that. I wanted to get into some top 5s, if that's all right with you. All right, Chris. So give me your top 5 pop punk bands.
First pop punk band that I absolutely fell in love with, that I was absolutely obsessed with when I was 15, was New Found Glory. I remember first hearing them on Kerrang TV for the first time, and it was hit or miss. And I was like, what is this? I absolutely need to know what this band is. So good, so hooked. New Found Glory. Second band, Blink-182, of course.
They could not be in there.
Yeah, exactly. All those records from, Dude Ranch, Enter of the State, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Amazing, banger after banger. Big fan, good memories. Number 3, I'd probably say Starting Line. I really love the Starting Line.
Underrated.
Yeah, underrated. I think like some of their first records were really good. I was a huge Drive-Thru Records fan, so that's how I found them. Big fan of that album.
I used to call them the Standing Line for some reason.
Why, you can read the starting?
I don't know. I just thought it was Standing Line. That makes more sense. We're British here.
The Standing Line. Number 4 for me, this is where I go into bands where I just like one album, because the second album I wasn't a huge fan. Fall Out Boy, first pop punk
yeah.
album, Take This to Your Grave, banger after banger, absolutely obsessed with that record, so good. I heard it at the right age. I even bought one of those beanie caps with a little peak because Patrick Stump had one in, was it Chicago So 2 years ago? Or was it Grand Theft Autumn?
Grand Theft Autumn, maybe? I don't know.
Auto,
I'm not that. I'm surprised you don't like some of their more modern stuff because they have some really interesting sort of like... I actually really like their more modern pop stuff, actually. I think they wrote some bangers like Immortal and Centuries and...
Yeah, I mean, they are well-constructed pop songs and they are really good and good quality, but I just didn't vibe with it.
Fair enough.
I wanted like 160 BPM, fast, quick, major key, happy pop punk tracks. But yeah, and then I think after that would have been the first record, Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card. I discovered them whilst playing SSX Tricky on the GameCube. Way Away was one of the tracks on that soundtrack. I was obsessed with it. Loved the violin, pop punk, really good tracks, really good vocals, lyrics. Yeah.
I feel like they should have got in a football soundtrack. Yellow Card.
FIFA.
Like, they missed a trick with
Pro
that.
Evo. Yeah. And then I think like pop punk for now, the band that I can't put down, constantly listen to all the time, No Pressure. Absolutely love No Pressure.
Oh, that's the Story So Far's side project, isn't it?
Yeah, I prefer them to Story No Far.
Parker Cannon.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, just absolutely. Every song's under 2.5 minutes. Exactly what you want. Really quick.
I really like them as well. Yeah, I don't listen to them that much, but when I checked it out, I was like, oh, I'll just check it out, and I was like, this is actually really good.
Yeah, I love it. They're here in November, I think. Actually,
are they?
Yeah,
we should go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a soul man.
Oh,
I know. The 1 week,
for Pete's sake.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be like my pop punk bands.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Some solid picks there.
Forrest, top 5 pop band. One job.
Top 5 pop pounds. Okay, so I'm going saucepan, wok, frying pan.
Skillet? Is that for a skillet?
Yeah. I really like a hex-clad pan.
Okay. All right, pan number top 1. 5 pop punk bands, go.
Okay, number 5. I might get some heat for this, but Avril Lavigne.
Is she pop punk?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Some tracks.
She went more pop than punk. Granted, I don't know. When I first heard Skater Boy and Complicated, especially, I could not stop playing that when I was younger. It was on probably Kerrang and MTV. I was obsessed with it. I learnt the lyrics, and then I even liked her later stuff with Girlfriend. And she actually released a really good song in lockdown or just after, Bite Me or something. Yeah, I know it's not the coolest, but I just really like Avril. I think she's really cool.
Like
what I like. Just stop grilling me, man. Number 4. Your boys, Story So Far.
Hey,
from No Pressure. I just really got into them. So I was into the older pop punk stuff, like the 2000 stuff, but I got into pop punk again when Story So Far came about, and I heard the song Empty Space, and I just absolutely was obsessed with that song. And Golden, I thought that was really poignant and interesting. I love the aggressive, high energy yells he does. Really cool band. I was into them for a hot minute. They're not like an all-timer, but I've definitely gone through their albums, really enjoyed what they've done. They're at the top of their game still. I think some people may have thought they'd be a bit of a fad, but props to them for still sticking it out. And Parker thinks he's like one of the Gallagher brothers, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought that. any British guy's going to think that, aren't
they?
That is
fucking weird. I'm not on board with that, but I think, they make good music. Number 3, could not have them on the list, Blink-182. I was massively into them when they were coming up. I think they got some unbelievable songs. I just love their personalities as well. They've all got such big personalities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're just super fun, just to watch, and just this little world they've built has inspired so many bands. Without Blink, who knows where pop punk would be.
What's your favourite song?
Favourite song?
You say Enema of the State, and then you say Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Which one's out of those albums?
Probably Enema of the State. I really like Carousel.
Okay, yeah.
That is, I loved playing that song. The first one I heard was probably The Rock Show.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit generic, but I do really like that song. It's a good song. It's a good song.
Good video.
I'm not super into them, to be fair. I don't know all the deep cuts, but they have some amazing. I Miss You is probably my favorite, even though it's the one.
Meme.
that really struck a chord with me, actually. So that one's probably my favorite, actually. Number 2, Fall Out Boy. I absolutely love Fall Out Boy. I was into them a bit later than you. I got into the Corkscrew album. That was my introduction. Absolutely love that album, like front to back, no skippers. They recently released a re-recording of that and like some B-sides.
I saw that.
Which is pretty cool. And I love the album after that as well, the one with Thanks to the Memories. Yeah, I think they've got such a unique sound. Like Patrick's got an amazing voice. Pete Wentz, he was just always so cool, and like he writes all the music, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
And I really love their later pop stuff they've done. I think they write amazing songs that just like I used to work at a cinema at Odeon, and I was in charge of the Costa playlist, and they're a really good band that are like just heavy enough to scratch an itch and not too heavy where I'm going to get told off for playing like Infinilator or something. I absolutely love Fall Out Boy. They're definitely one of my favorite. Number 1, you might disagree, they're actually a pop punk band, but A Day to Remember.
Okay.
I think you can call them a
pop
punk band. To be honest with you, pop punk isn't one of my favorite genres, but if you're looking at like amount of minutes listened to a band, like A Day to Remember, I know pretty much all their albums. Absolutely like love them. I think they write amazing pop punk songs, and they have that little bit of edge. Like some people call them easy core, some people call them metalcore, but I think they have such pop punk sections. I think I would call them a pop punk band. Like
I think they're just pop punk with detuned guitars, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely love A Day to Remember. Like I spoke about them enough on here. Do you know they're actually at the moment the 5th biggest modern metal band, if you count them as a metal band as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's how big they still are. Not counting like new metal and like sort of like older stuff, more like, you know, around mid 2000s onwards. They're still killing it now, and I think they've still got a bit of life left in them. Their last album was a real return to form because they did have some flops.
Yeah, I think that new album that really did pick up again, and it just felt like back to its roots again, a bit more upbeat, optimistic. The intro to the whole album is so good. That's my favourite song off the album, actually.
Make it make sense?
Yeah, it just comes in with that riff.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, it's quite hardcore, actually. You got some hardcore elements to that riff.
I think one of my Spotify Wrapped a couple of years ago, most played song was Right Back at It again.
Right Back at It
I just absolutely love that song.
That's
bitch.
Pop punk. Bitch. Should we keep the bitch? I like the bitch.
Your top 5 favourite metal songwriters?
At number 5, Cody Quistad. Cody Quistad, he's responsible for writing most of Wage War stuff, and he's been heavily involved in Falling Arrow Verse's latest stuff. Yeah, he's got some great credits on there. Drew Folk, he has written a lot of I Prevail stuff, and he also wrote Another Life by Emotionless and White, which is one of my favourite songs at the moment. It is a banger. Really respect him for that. Daniel Braunstein. So he's worked with Spirit Box since pretty much the beginning, and Dayseeker. Amazing pieces of work. Those two bands have just come out of nowhere, and now they're at the helm of like modern metal now. Tyler Smith. He is an amazing songwriter. He has written some of Falling Arrow Verse's stuff. He's done I Prevail. He's done Bless the Fall. He's also worked with Joey Sturgis. He's done a lot of like content as well, so I've got to learn how he's worked. Some really cool stuff. And number 1, of course, Jordan Fish, responsible for writing some of Bring Me's best stuff. He's recently done Architects. He's the mastermind behind Poppy. Rumours he's doing Busted. Amazing songwriter. Like, I can't wait to see what he does next. Chris.
Yes. Am I Chris or AZODi?
AZODi. What are your favourite pop pants?
My favourite pop pants? Stripy blue.
Do you actually have a stripy blue pen?
No, mine were like random fruit, like pineapples and shit.
Who fries pineapple?
Because they're loud and they're not bright yellow pants. Yeah, why not?
Wow, that's you learn something new every day.
Got to balance out all this like dark colours.
I don't think you
were
like that, man. Yeah, you wouldn't know.
No.
Give me your top 5 songwriters.
It's gonna have to be Max Martin.
Oh yeah, you've been banging on about him all day.
Pure pop, absolute genius. He did all the Y2K stuff. Britney, Backstreet Boys, Katy Perry. He's done Justin Timberlake. The list is endless really with Max Martin. One of my favourite all-time songwriters that maybe really want to get in songwriting. Long time ago, Sam Hollander. One of his biggest ones that he came out was High Hopes by Panic at the Disco, and he's done more Panic. He's done a whole bunch of Boys Like Girls.
So without him, Panic at the Disco wouldn't be a thing.
I think some of the big songs, yeah. Some of the big songs, I would say, yeah.
They owed their whole success.
So that's that one. Yeah, the entire success of that one song. Number 2, not in any particular order, but a guy called Andrew Goldstein. He wrote a lot of the Black Bear stuff. And his last album, had Travis on some of the tracks drumming, and it's more like a pop punk record actually, that last one, so it's good. Jordan Fish,
the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a song that sounds like he's written it, smells fishy.
Hey, smells like a fish production. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. And I just remember the kind of difference from before he joined the band and after he joined the band with the songwriting. And his first album was Sempiternal, right? It was 2013.
Yes, yeah.
So that was my favorite Bring Me album by far. So yeah, I really loved it.
Me too, I think.
Yeah, so good.
Nostalgic.
So many bangers. Playing at District quite a lot, wasn't it? Just always. So
what's your favourite track from it?
House of Wolves.
House of Wolves?
Yeah. That wasn't even a single, that's a B-side, right, that one? Did that come out, did it have a music video, that one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I love that one.
I really
Absolutely
like Empire.
Yeah.
That's my favourite.
Then I think after that, I really like a guy called Lil Aaron. Really good songwriter. He's just released a new record, which has been really cool. And he wrote a lot, I think, on one of my favorite kind of more recent pop punk records, more the emo side. But if you know another Lil Lotus, who used to be like emo trap, and he's done some pop punk stuff that was really good. And interesting enough, Lil Aaron's album, a big collaborator on that record was Preston from The Ordinary Boys.
That's random.
Yeah, I went through the credits like Preston. He's like doing all this like American pop like rock stuff. So yeah, he was. So Preston was on quite a lot of that album, which is cool. And then I'd like wrap it up with probably
Kanye?
No. Excellent
list. You're a lot more knowledgeable about songwriters than me.
You asked me that question, it's like, oh shit, I gotta think about this. Like, I really think about this one. Yeah, because songwriters are so hidden, aren't they? They're just so in the background a lot of the time. So
there's actually like probably a movement by record labels and stuff to sort of erase them and keep them on the underground, isn't there? Because they're like, don't ruin the magic. It's almost like, they're like the wizards.
But songwriters, some of them just don't want the attention. Some of them do just want to be in the background. Like I've talked to a few writers in the past where some of them had some real big opportunities as singer-songwriters. And I remember chatting to one who's doing really well, and she was just like, oh yeah, I just moved to songwriting. I'm like, I'm on this stage performing with these people and I'm just so anxious. I just hate it. I hate being in front of all these people, you know, and she's like killing it as a songwriter. So you just hear stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably quite a common thing, but also I reckon there's a movement by the record labels, a conspiracy to keep songwriters down.
Why do you think that?
Well, because imagine if they got out and they were like, well, this is the person doing Sabrina Carpenter and whoever the big artists are. It kind of takes away the magic, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. But it's so different now with social media. Everyone's in interviews and on the camera. But yeah, I could see that.
Definitely. Yeah, we need to uncover this conspiracy and give the songwriters the credit they deserve.
Yeah, I actually watched an interview yesterday with a rapper called Russ, who's very big. I only literally just discovered him yesterday. But he was doing an interview and he made some really interesting points about how, what you're saying basically, he was like, songwriters, there's always seems to be this default of you being hidden, and it's like, why shouldn't you be out there in front, you know, performing your work?
I totally agree with that.
So yeah, and he's killing it. He's doing really well. So yeah, I mean, there's both sides to the story really on that. I mean, I don't know, being on stage is fun and stuff, but it's like, you know, it's a whole job in itself, getting prepared just to get on the stage when you could use that time to just write more songs. And I don't know, it's down to what.
How many songs do you reckon you've written now?
Well, in circulation in Asia alone is about 150.
Wow.
And that's finished songs. That's not counting all the ideas that have never been finished. Like, because I did a lot of film scoring, like each film feature length, you're doing at least 40 to 50 tracks anyway.
Wow.
But that can range from like 5-10 seconds to like 5-6 minutes. So
you'd call a 5-10 second song?
I guess you can call it a sting. They call it like an impact, or like a motif, or like kind of a motif, or like an embellishment. I don't know. I don't know what you would call it. So
if it took you like a few days to write 5 seconds of music, then
something's up. Something's up, man. You got to quit while you're ahead. A few days to. Yeah, but then you could counter that. This is why I'm not a fan of charge. Like, say if you're ever charging hourly, I'm not a fan of that, because if you think about it, you get better over time, so you're more efficient than someone who's just started. But if you're charging hourly, technically you're going to make less money than someone who's not as good, makes a worse product and still gets paid more.
Because you should also invest in like the experience that person's
Exactly.
got over time, and
Yeah, exactly. It's not good to charge just on time. You just charge on like the
time is
finished
a
product.
construct.
Yes.
We just gained an hour today. Like,
Yeah, it really spun me out actually. I turned up and you didn't even know that it had gone back 6
I would
hours. You
never
hadn't
have known.
realised. Yeah. I woke up and I was like, why is the sun up now? It's been pitch black this time.
studying
normally.
this sunrises.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the Metal Lounge.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been awesome. It's been lovely to hear about your story and to talk about some of your experiences in songwriting and your opinions on metal. I think this has been a really fun time.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
If you like this video, give it a like, think about subscribing, and we'll catch you in the next one.